Caesarea, today in the country of Israel, was once a part of the Roman Empire. Built under Herod the Great's command, it was a strictly planned city influenced by the Roman architectural ideal. In 20 BCE, Herod began construction of his new home, Caesarea, a port on the Mediterranean. It was completed in 10 BCE. By 6 BCE, Caesarea was the official capital of the province of Judea. Its location was in the middle of the country, close to farms and transportation. As the administrative center of the province, Caesarea was an important city up until the 8th century. Judea became a province of Rome in 63 BCE. The Roman Senate made Herod the king of the Judeans in 40 BCE. He was a puppet, working to please his Roman superiors while striving to meet the needs of his people. Herod wanted power and associated himself with the culture and language of the Romans, despite his Jewish background. In addition, he realized that he needed to pay tribute to Rome in order to keep his power. By the Battle of Actium, where Octavian was victorious over Mark Antony, Herod understood that he needed to be loyal to whomever won. Octavian liked his loyalty and confirmed Herod as king and gave Herod Caesarea and the coast of Judea. Herod was not a benevolent ruler. Anyone who got in Herod's way and revolted against his rule had to face harsh and cruel punishment by his demand. However, as long as Herod continued to collect taxes for Rome, Augustus Caesar was happy. Herod saw himself as the ideal of a Roman administrator, but he also welcomed nobles, scholars, artists, writers, and high-ranking politicians to his palace. During his reign, major public buildings were constructed, such as the Temple in Jerusalem and the aqueducts that brought water to his city. In the mid-20s BCE, Herod protected his people from famine by using Roman connections to trade with Egypt and buy grain. The money for these projects came from trade with the Roman Empire, which was made possible by the construction of the port at Caesarea. 3 key structures from the time of Herod still exist in Caesarea today. They are the amphitheater, the hippodrome, and Herod's palace. The design and plan of Caesarea was heavily influenced by Herod's love of Roman culture and ideals. For this reason, the amphitheater was a major part of the city. Greek and Roman plays entertained the residents. Pantomime was also popular. This specific amphitheater is the oldest standing Roman theater in the region, and it is still in use today. It is 100 meters across and can seat 4,000 people. During Herod's time, there was a colorful plastered floor and granite columns were found at the entrances. The hippodrome, originally created in Greece, was primarily used for horse and chariot races. In Rome, it was called the circus, and it was shaped like an oval with spectators seated around the track. Seating was arranged so that the dignitaries would have the best seats. Starting gates were at one end of the course. The spina, a low wall, ran down the center to divide the course. Frequently, it had monuments and sculptures on it. In Caesarea, the walls were also decorated with paintings of animals and hunts. Here, Herod organized glamorous competitions and presentations dedicated to Augustus and his wife Livia. Sometimes there were more performers than audience members. Winners received great rewards, and there were wild parties. Gladiator games, held every 5 years, were probably exciting, but the Jewish community disapproved of them because they treated life with disdain. Herod placed his palace on a promontory in the sea. The palace resembled a Roman villa, a style which Herod loved. There are 2 courtyards with a colonnade around them. The palace complex also has baths and a fresh water pool. The northern section of the palace still exists today, and you can see the large hall and the corridors on either side. The western rooms still have a mosaic floor. His palace was constructed close to the hippodrome and amphitheater to maximize the propaganda effect of the festivities. Often, Herod wore royal regalia to competitions and plays. Near the palace were temples to the goddess Roma and to Augustus Caesar. Josephus, the historian, said that Herod built an impressive system of sewers that took waste from not only the palace, but the entire city into the sea. After Herod died, his palace was used by Jewish Roman commissioners and governors. It is true that under Herod, Rome became more powerful across the eastern Mediterranean. Judea was, therefore, a diverse region culturally during the time of Herod, with people from around the Mediterranean living side by side. There was tension between these different people, and the Jews did not support all of Herod's changes. However, without Herod, the Jewish culture might not have survived to the extent it did. In the New Testament, Christians described Herod and other members of his family as corrupt, and we know that Herod was the king during the time of Jesus. Also, many other people lived in Judea, such as Greeks and Samaritans. He designed Caesarea to be Roman so that his people would idolize the Roman culture as he did. Roman ideals, which were taken from other cultures and popularized along the Mediterranean, continue to be a big part of our society today. When going to the theater or movies, we frequently see ripples of Greek and Roman stories in our own. Races, now with cars and motorcycles, have the same excitement as chariot races. Governments, to gain popularity, build the arenas and tracks in major cities. They are places of propaganda. Frequently, governments use classic Roman style, heavily influenced by Greeks. This style of architecture continues to dominate us today in modern buildings such as libraries, museums, and archive buildings, because even today, in our culture, grand architecture sends a message of power.